Okay, I'm doing expression student handout number 2 labeled Why Does Order Matter? So in the last student handout, you guys learned what exponents were, and they're really simple. All you're doing is multiplying your base number by that many times. That is your exponent. All right, so this lesson is about the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, something you guys have been exposed to last year, just a little bit more numbers added into 6th grade. All right, the first thing they want you to do, I'm not going to read all of these steps out, but you're going to make a cake. And the directions are listed below. I have that pink sticky note there because I've already written down the answers. So you need to read each one and you need to see what would you do first. Think about if you were baking a cake in your kitchen, what is the first thing you need to do? I will give you a hint. The first one, you should preheat the oven to 350 degrees, all right? You must preheat the oven. That should be labeled number 1. You're going to label them 1 through 6 to tell me which one goes in order. So go ahead and pause it, and actually pause it, guys, and list them, okay? And we'll be right back. All right, here is your answers right here. The first thing you do is preheat. The second thing, you're going to grease your pan. The third thing, you're going to mix in a medium bowl all your sugar and butter. Then you're going to combine the flour to your mixture. Then you're going to pour the batter into the pan, and then you will actually bake it. Now, you're probably wondering why you have to do this activity. Well, when you do please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, you have to go in a certain order, right? You shouldn't be baking the cake and then preheating the oven. That wouldn't make sense. So this one is titled Why Does Order Matter? Because when we are doing expressions with exponents and order of operations, you must complete things in a certain order. All right, the first task it has you to do, and let me zoom down a little bit. You want to solve the following problem. I'm not going to tell you what order you should be doing it in. Just go ahead and solve that problem. All right. And remember, these little dots right here, that means multiply. All right. If you did not know, that is to multiply. So go ahead, solve that. I'm not going to tell you which order. Just go ahead and solve it from what you already know. And write your answer to the side. I'm not going to even give the correct answer for this. I'm going to check this in class. Okay, so pause it and work on that because I'm going to go ahead and move to the bottom since I'm not going to work out that problem. Okay, let me zoom in for you guys. Oh, that's not focused. All right, sorry. Here we go. Now the bottom part says, just like baking a cake, simplifying numeric expressions follow in order to. There's an order to do order of operations, all right? We just don't start adding and multiplying everything together. Now you need to underline each step that you are doing on each line, and I'm going to show you, or highlight if you have the pencil feature, highlight the order that you're going to, and I'm going to show you what I mean when I say that. So it basically says right here, this says 7 times, in parentheses it has 8 minus 5 plus 3 times 2 to the 2nd power. All right, over here we're going to go ahead and build our please excuse my dear Aunt Sally with the P at the top, which stands for parentheses, and if you want to write it in the box so you know. Then E is for exponents, and I'll just write like an X to the 2nd power for an example of what that looks like. M and D are next, multiply and divide. All right, you know those signs. It could be like a times sign or a little dot, same thing. All right, the division sign doesn't change to divide. A for addition, S for subtraction. Both of those we know. Now you might be wondering why multiplying and dividing and adding and subtracting are together, because they work kind of hand in hand, right? But you must do the parentheses and you must do the exponents first. That is a must. All right. So here we have the line of order of operations that we're working with. I'm going to underline or highlight the first thing I'm going to do. And this is the first thing because it is a parentheses, right? So I'm going to underline it. And then the next line, I'm going to actually solve it, what I underline with it. So we bring down that 7. You can bring down the multiplication sign. And you're going to go ahead and work out 8 minus 5, which is 3. So now this turns into a 3. You no longer need the parentheses, okay? Right? So we keep everything else the same because the only thing that we worked on is what we underline. So then you're going to have plus 3 times 2 squared, right? Remember that's 2 squared when it has a 2 in the exponent. All right, next we're going to work on the next thing we need to focus on. We hit our parentheses so we can check off that we did that. Next is your exponents. So the next thing you need to underline is your exponents. That's the next thing we're going to solve. That means everything else stays the same. So the 7 stays the same. It's still times 3. You still have to add the 3. Now, you still have to multiply, but now you need to solve. What is 2 to the second power? That 2 to the second power really means 2 times 2, right? And 2 times 2 is 4. All right? Pause or stop the video if you need to stop and just solve and work out your problems, all right? But I think majority of you will get that. I saw a lot of you who took your pre-test, and some of you guys made 80s and 100. So I have really high hopes for you guys to do well in order of operations. All right, next, we did our P, we did our E. Now we're going to look at the multiplying part, all right? Now we have 2 multiplying problems going on. You have a 7 times 3, and then you have a 3 times 4. So I'm going to just underline one of them, 7 times 3. I'm only going to focus on one first, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and solve that, and 7 times 3 is 21. Don't say 21, that little crazy voice I like to do it in, okay? And then you're going to add the other side. 3 times 4 stays the same. We're not worried about that right now. You're only underlining. You're only working on what you underline. So now we're going to go back and finish the other side. We're going to multiply this side. Keep that 21. And then add that. You're going to multiply 3 times 4, which is 12. And then I will underline this because this is the last thing I have left. 21 plus 12, and your answer would be 33. All right. That will be your final answer. Nothing too hard. Just making sure you go through your parentheses, exponents, multiply, and divide, add, and subtract, okay? That is the most important part to keep your order, all right? We're going to go ahead and go to the back. Pause if needed. All right, let me scoot this up so you guys can see the top part. All right, this one is pretty simple. It says circle the operation that should be performed first, all right? I'm going to do the first 3 at the top, and you guys are going to do the bottom 3. All right, so the first one in parentheses, that's 15 minus 4, and on the outside it has times 9. The first thing you would do when you do order of operation, please excuse my dear Sally, that has a parentheses. This is first. And that's all you have to do. You're not solving any of these problems. It wants to know what do you do first, all right? Now let's look at this one. This one doesn't have any parentheses in it. So now I go to my E, which is exponents, all right? If you need to at the bottom, write it down. All right? Go ahead and write it down if you can't remember the order. So we don't have a parentheses in this one. Now, the next one is exponents. We do have an exponent. That will be the first thing you would look at and work on. All right? Moving on, the last one I'm going to do with you. All right, you start back over, right? Go to check and see if it has any parentheses. If it does, that is the first thing you do, and this one has a parenthesis, so you would do 12 minus 4 first. All right, now I want you to pause the video and do the last 3 on the bottom. Use your key right here to show what you do first. All right. So now, pause the video, work on that. For the last 3, your first thing that you would do is actually this section right here. You remember in the first part, it has multiply and divide together on the same block, right? So the P and E are at the top of the pyramid. M, D, and A and S are side by side for a reason. You can do either one, all right? Either one does not matter, all right? So that one will be 18 divided by 6 first. Next, you should have circled 14 over 2 would be first. And last, you would circle 4 times 8 at the top because multiply comes before subtracting. All right, now to the fun part. We're going to do problems 1 to 3 together, and you guys are going to do 4, 5, and 6. I love expression, guys. They're really, really easy, and you guys can use calculators finally. So you should not be getting your mathematical errors. You shouldn't be, mistyping stuff in your calculator. All right. So now we're going to work on this step by step. Remember, you need to underline what you're doing first. All right. So I know with this one, I have a parentheses. That's the first thing on the list to do, right? I'm going to underline it. I'm going to keep everything else the same. So I have 15 plus 8 squared minus 9 plus 14. Now what you would do is if you had a calculator on hand, you would do 9 plus 14, and that should equal 23. 14 plus 9, let me double check. Yes, 23. Now you need to go back up here. Check, I have an exponent. Underline that and solve it. So you have 15 plus 8 squared. Now remember, 8 squared is saying 8 times 8. All right. Oh, you guys can't see that part. I'll scoot it over. All right. 8 times 8. And I know 8 times 8 is 64. And then you keep your minus 23. All right, now you have both adding and subtracting. And I'm going to go ahead and add my 15 and 64 next. So when you add 15 plus 64, you get 79, and you keep the subtraction 23 right there. Now all you do is 79 minus 23, and you will get 56 as your answer. All right. Let's move on. Number 2. I have 2 parentheses. So it doesn't matter which one I do first. I just need to do one in general. So I'm going to do the 12 plus 4. All right. I know that 12 plus 4 is 16 divided by 11 minus 7. That's still in parentheses. Then I'm going to underline this because that's the next thing I'm going to do. So I have 16 divided by 4. Right. Now all I'm left with is 16 divided by 4. And we all should know that that is 4. Okay. It is much more organized when you underline your answers and what you're doing. All right. Moving on to number 3. All right. I already see I have parentheses. I'm going to go ahead and underline that first because that's the first thing I need to work on. So I have 16 plus 6 squared minus 9 divided by 3, and that is 3. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is underline my exponent because I know by looking up here, exponent is next. So you have 16 plus that 6 squared is really 6 times 6, which is 36. And you have your subtracting 3. Okay? Now, same thing. You have addition and subtraction. I'm going to go ahead and work on this addition part. So you will type in your calculator 16 plus 36. You get 52. You subtract 3. And all you're left with is 52 minus 3. And you have 49 as your final answer. Alright? Nothing too bad. Use your calculator, guys. Your calculator is going to be your best friend. Alright? Even though you think you may know it on the top of your head, check it with a calculator. I want you guys to go ahead and do 4, 5, and 6. Don't let the exponent right here confuse you, okay? Solve what's inside of it first. Get that answer and then square it, okay? I am going to give you that one hint. Go ahead and pause it and come back, and we're going to work out these last 3 problems. All right. Now let's go ahead and start working on these last 3. So what you should have got is, the first thing you do, you're going to work on the top. Just look at it as a fraction, your numerator and your denominator, right? I don't know if you guys can see it. I can zoom in a little bit. Okay, and I'll just scoot it over right here so you can see. All right, so now you have 7 squared minus 13. Now, I'm not going to really underline it because it's written like a fraction. But I'm going to go ahead and solve 7 squared. That's 49, because that's 7 times 7. All right, minus 13. I'm going to take out my calculator, type 49 minus 13. And I'm going to just remember that answer to the side. I know I can write on the side that top is going to be 36, right? So on the bottom, you will still keep 24 minus 18. I basically just simplified it. All I did was solve that exponent and put the number, so now I have all numbers, right? So 49 minus 13 is 36. And 24 minus 18 gives you 6. Now, what do you notice? This is an improper fraction, right? How many times can 6 go into 36? 6 times. Your final answer is 6. All right, hopefully you got 6 for that answer. Remember, pause and go through your work if you are getting lost, okay? And also message me if you don't understand. Next, we have parentheses first, so I'm going to go ahead and underline that. I know that 10 plus 4 is 14. And now I keep that squared right there, minus 25, right? So now on your calculator, that 14 squared is really 14 times 14. So you need to do 14 times 14 on your calculator. You should have got 196 minus 25. Then this is the next problem you would solve. On your calculator, 196 minus 25 gives you 171 as your final answer. And guys, you see, even I have my calculator out. I am not just doing this at the top of my head. All right? Use your calculator. Last but not least, we have 10 plus 4 squared. So, even within this parentheses, you need to solve what 4 to the second power is, right? So, this is 10 plus 4 to the second power, which is 4 times 4. 4 plus 16, right? First, keep your parentheses. Minus 25, right? So then you want to do 10 plus 16, which is 26, minus 25, right? And we know 26 minus 25 will only leave us with 1. Hopefully you got 1 as your answer. All right, this bottom part is kind of a challenge. Oops, sorry guys. I need to zoom out. These last 2 problems are kind of a challenge. Sorry guys, I'm all over the place with this camera. Okay, that's much better. All right, so now they've given you a order of operation, but there is a parenthesis somewhere that needs to go to make this true. You are going to have to kind of insert it in certain places and solve it out so you can get the correct answer. I am not going to give you these answers. I want you to try this and I want you to work it out. You may need a scrap sheet of paper because you may try your parentheses here or over here. You never know, okay? So do these two, and try to find where the parenthesis goes. And I'll give you a hint on this one. It is going to be either adding or subtracting. It's going to be either around the adding or the subtracting numbers, okay? And also at the end, as usual, make sure you are writing 1 to 2 sentences about what you guys learned, all right? That is a part of your homework grade. Do not leave that blank. And I want 6th grade sentences. I know you guys are capable of doing it. Don't just say, I know what an exponent is, because that was last lesson, all right? If you learned an order of operations, maybe you figured out you don't have to do multiplying first. You can do dividing. That's one thing you guys should be able to write. All right. So hopefully you guys listen to all of my messages. And let's see, what can I think of? The color of my pen is red, okay? That could be important later on. All right, you guys go ahead and do homework number 2.